So we're back to focusing on how to, of course, do something about the economy. Well, we're joined now by Martin Onovo, who is a former presidential candidate of the NCP. Morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
What have you been up to ever since?
Well, first is try to recover from the strain and the stress of elections, and secondly is go back to my regular activities. I'm not a professional politician. I'm a professional in politics, so go back to my regular activities.
Well, now we need a professional touch to the economy in terms of what needs to be done to put us on the right track. You've also been observing what's going on. I mean, some people, they're talking about if we're giving a lemon, let's make it lemonade. How would you assess our approach to ensuring that things don't go further south about the economy?
You see, it's very simple. First is we must accept the reality. Second is that we must be very clear about our objectives. Very clear. Once you achieve those two, you accept your reality, you're clear about your objectives, then you can develop your strategy. It is based on your strategy that you detail your plans. So when people say the government doesn't have a blueprint, that's what they're talking about. These are things you should have done up front. Immediately after the elections, of course, all of us campaigned with economic directions. But immediately after the elections, you don't wait to be sworn in. That's part of a transition process. You work it and you detail it. The strategy becomes clear. Your team, you don't announce it to the public, but you make your team immediately. You don't waste time, because time will not waste for you. So even while you're contesting, you have an idea of those who you want to work with. So these are the people you start to bring in. You start to respect the position of the party and bring in some of the party people who the party will nominate for you to work with. You bring them in, then you walk through your vision with them. This is early, this is before you're sworn in.
All this can be done before that swearing in day?
For example, in Nigeria, we had the elections in March. Swearing in was in May. There was 2 full months of work to be done. Prior to all that nonsense and euphoria and noise.
There was a transition committee. Weren't they working?
Well, it's obvious now. You know, the results don't lie. You're the most brilliant student in the class, but you come last. The results don't lie. You're not the most brilliant student in the class. If you're the most brilliant student in the class and you don't come first, you don't come second, then maybe you come third. Maybe something happened. But you come last and you say you're the most brilliant student in the class. So the results don't lie. Oh. And you remember all the controversies at that time.
What does that mean? I mean, when you say the results don't lie, are you saying that the committee was playing?
Well,
or that who exactly came last here?
Well,
I get that.
If the CBN can officially say that the directionlessness of the government economic policy is hurting the economy, I don't know what other result you want to hear.
The CBN,
that is the CBN.
The CBN said that directionlessness.
Well, maybe not those exact words, but it's very clear that the CBN said that the lack of a clear economic direction was hurting the economy. And it's not only the CBN that said that. I'm only using the CBN.
When did they say that? I didn't quite catch that.
You see, you didn't catch a lot of things. And that's why I said the results don't lie. Now, if you also, for example, if I ask you now, what's the economic direction? I'm sure you can't answer it clearly and confidently. And it's the same way you don't know it.
I'm not the CBN.
I'm coming.
What I'm saying is, when did the CBN say that?
It's the political leadership that dictates that. And the CBN was reported by the media which you belong to.
That's what I'm saying. So I didn't catch that. I mean, I've listened to the CBN governor several times speaking. Okay. I mean, even yesterday he briefed, but I didn't hear him say that the directionlessness.
Maybe I will reference it and send it to you. But that's very clear. And your surprise shocks me because it looks like you came from the moon. That's the major topic in the country about the economy. What's the direction?
You're not getting my point. We're trying not to mislead people. Okay. We're a media organization, and when you say the CBN said, you're not saying that the directionlessness. I don't know.
When you paraphrase and when you quote, I didn't say I quoted.
Good. So what were you doing?
But that's the import. I paraphrased.
I think it's
so that is from you.
No, I paraphrased what the CBN said.
It's very important to understand that meanings are
the exact choice of words might not be exactly the same.
Mr. Onovo,
but I'm sure I can find it and give it to you.
Mr. Onovo, it's very important to state that meanings are in people. If that was what you got from what the CBN has. The CBN governor has, spoken so many times. But if that was what you got from a particular statement, I think it's very important so that people can reference that particular statement that the CBN made and see if they get the same meaning that you got from it.
Excellent.
That's why I'm asking you, when did the CBN say what it is that you said he said?
Do you expect me to remember the exact date and the exact medium? Is that what you expect? I'm sure that's not what you expect. That I can discriminate whether I heard this news on channels or on Silverbird, on AIT. Is that what you expect?
Did you
and
hear,
on so and so
did
date?
you hear it this year, last year? When did you hear it?
This year, just a few weeks back.
Okay.
That's what I said earlier. And I'm surprised that you're insisting on this, because I'm sure that if I ask you, who should be informing me as a journalist, what's the economic direction of this government, I'm sure you can't answer. Because it's the discussion in the media. What's the direction? I don't know the direction. I'm interested in the direction. I'm a stakeholder, a major stakeholder. I'm interested. And everybody else is. And that's what's being discussed everywhere. So those things need to be clear. The role of leadership needs to be clear. Once you can define your objectives, identify your strategy, work out your plans. And what I was saying is that if you are proactive, you could have done this with the 2 months you had even before swearing in. And that's what you talk about, hit the ground running. Hit the ground running is not magical, it's not mystical.
So that has not
It's that you have done some upfront work. That's what it means.
Mr. Onovo, for you, and I think for a lot of people too, there was strong criticism of the president when they said that he did not set to work on time, and it took him how many months to appoint his ministers. But
if I ask you where you read that and which date and what time, will you remember?
Just a moment.
Sure.
I think I'm speaking. I mean, we all live in this country, and we know when the president appointed his ministers. We
Sure.
also do know when he was sworn in.
Sure.
May 29 was the day he was sworn in. We also know when he appointed his ministers. So there was criticism about that space. So that everybody can attest to. But when he eventually appointed his ministers, quite a number of people felt that they will be able to see the economic direction of this government from its budget. When the budget is out now, it's been presented, it's been laid before the National Assembly. What do you make of the budget?
Very good. This is an excellent question, because the first concrete indication of economic direction was the budget. The first concrete indication. Now, from your medium-term economic framework, that budget was supposed to be, the proposal was supposed to be presented in August. Right now, I would say it was presented in January. You know why? Because the current version that is being looked at was just presented this January. So when you're late, is that going to help your effectiveness and productivity? I don't think so. That's first. Second, what we can do with that budget is only infer the direction. And there are two things that come out of that budget, from my perspective. And I've called it a budget of ruination. Ruination.
What does that mean?
Ruin. To ruin the Nigerian economy. And if you look at that budget, for example, you said the key is to borrow heavily to fund infrastructure. You borrow nearly 40%. But the same budget represents only 30% for capital projects. Contradiction. Logical contradiction. What could have been done, knowing the level of waste we have in our recurrent expenditure, was to cut some of that down and transfer some of that to the capital side to pursue the same developmental projects you're talking about. Now, that would have been more surgical, that would have been more strategic. And that was what the National Congress Party proposed to do. Okay, the country as of today is owing nearly $70 billion. You will now offer to go and borrow another 2.2 trillion. What's the payment plan? How are we going to pay for this? Maybe you help us pay for it. It's not a grant.
I'm happy you're talking about the budget now, which is a direction. And it then means
No. The budget is the funding of your plan.
And
the direction comes up front.
That's a direction.
Let's put the horse before the cart.
So that we don't start defining
Let's
direction.
put the horse before the cart.
But it was what you said. I mean,
and you also used the word that the first concrete direction.
Yes,
indication of direction.
That was what you said.
Excuse me, Mr. Onovo. You just said it a while ago. We can get that repeated before you leave if you wanted us.
I'll be glad if we do that.
You'll be glad if we do that?
I'll be very glad if we do that.
All right, because you said the first concrete direction of this administration.
Indication of direction.
Is the budget.
No, the budget is
and if it is the budget, we're trying to open the budget bit by bit, and you just said that the budget is akin to what you would say as a ruin to the nation's economy.
A budget of ruination.
And perhaps you want to look at them bit by bit further, since you are also one of those who indicated interest in running the affairs of the country as a presidential candidate. What would you have done differently?
I just mentioned the major thing we could have done differently, directionally. We could have, there's so much waste in the so-called recurrent expenditure. It's clearly over-bloated and wasteful and unproductive. We need to cut some of that.
For instance?
I don't have the exact figures in my head, but if you hear the figures from the public purse for medical tourism, it is significant. It is very significant. I have never gone abroad for medical checkup. I talk for myself now. I know that your political rulers today have gone publicly, reported by you, for medical checkup. I have not gone.
But there's no law that says they shouldn't go.
Yes, you're right. And I'm not saying it's against the law. I'm saying that the first sacrifice I probably would have made will be, I will not go abroad for medical checkup. If you want to go, pay from your purse. That's one. Two, have you seen a typical convoy? Have you seen that convoy? All those vehicles have drivers. All are maintained. All run on imported PMS. Excuse me. What do you need a convoy of 20 vehicles for?
The convoy of who, sir?
You want to be particular?
Yes, please.
No, too many people use convoys. All the governors use convoys. For example.
We're looking at the budget of the federal government. So
Yes.
we have to be specific to the federal government. If you say that...
While you're being specific, you must also be general, because you don't operate in isolation.
I think it's very important because, you know, the state governments also have their own budgets.
They will take a cue.
We're looking at the budget of the federal government. If you're looking at
Leadership
the convoy,
is not only hierarchical, it's also moral. They'll take a cue.
Mr. Onovo, I totally understand that. What I'm simply saying is that if we're looking at the federal government's budget, then perhaps we should restrict the convoy we're talking about to the federal government's convoy.
If you insist that will be your opinion, I think that the Nigerian economy is one economy, and you don't want to patch from this side and cut from this side. You don't want to do that. But if you want to focus on only the federal budget, I give you two indications. First, medical tourism. Second, recurrent expenditure. And that includes the countless number of idle assistants to political office holders. Should political office holders have assistants? Yes. Should one man have 50 assistants? I don't think so. So, how many assistants does a high political office holder need? Maybe a minister. Does he need 20 or 3?
Let me
Is it
highlight
10 or 90? You need to be clear about all that, because you have all these people who really do nothing except their names on the payroll.
Speaking about that part, but
So there's so many things you can cut item by item.
But they've also
Another
cut
one.
some things. Haven't they cut some things? Look at, I think we have 24 ministries now, as opposed to what we used to have before. Isn't that an indication that, look, we recognize that this is overbloated, we can't manage it, and so we cut it down a little bit?
Yes, that was hyped. But if you look at this budget now, that Maope wants us to focus on the budget. If you look at that budget, you see that it doesn't reflect, because this budget has, in absolute numbers, a higher recurrent budget than what you cut from. So you say you cut, but it grew bigger. In the recurrent, I'm not talking about the total budget. We're looking at the recurrent today. Now you said you're borrowing, look at the contradiction. You borrow nearly 40% to finance capital development. But only 30% of that is going to capital development. That's a contradiction. What's the challenge here? It's simple.
So the fact that they have over 400 billion earmarks for, say, ministries as power, works, and housing, which this is about the first time you see that amount of money going to that sector, it doesn't matter.
Well, you have to know that that's 3 big ministries in one. So if you look at that budget and you say, let's split it into 3.
Isn't that a
You're
demonstration?
talking about 100 and something billion each way. If you say let's split it. What I'm saying is, how did you get there? Big capital vote is what we all want. That's what we want. That's where you're going. That's what I want. That's what I think the country needs. That's what the government said it was going to do. But what I'm saying, what did the government do? You are borrowing 2.2 trillion and you're putting 1 point something to capital. How do you explain that? So it means you borrowed also for recurrent because you borrowed more than what you allocated to capital. That's simple. Are we taking sides? It's clear. So if we're doing this, because one thing is what you say, another thing is what you do. And actions speak louder than words.
So for you, I mean, I think my colleague, we started from, we first of all started from, what you would have done differently. And for some reason we entered the budget and then we brought that up again. So considering where we are right now, I mean, we all know that oil prices are down. It used to be, or it still is the mainstay of this economy, even though we also say we're trying to diversify. What would you have done differently in terms of trying to raise funds for some of the things that you might have promised?
Philosophically, I have a difference with you on that. You know why? What's more important, and I think that's what your previous guest said, what's more important is not revenue. What's more important is how you apply what you have. There is no amount of revenue that's enough for a visionless and wasteful government. There is none. And we have seen it. We sold oil in 2008 for $147 per barrel. Where is the benefit, please? Show me on Enugu Onitsha. Show me Obini Shagamu. Show me a brand new airport. So it's not about revenue. This, and that's why I say I have a philosophical difference. And that's why we end up where we are. It's not about revenue.
But I think that's why Nigeria has voted for change. So if right now, in the process of voting for change, we now have a government of change, as it were, and you're saying that this budget doesn't look like it's a budget of change. It doesn't seem to inspire you.
No. What's happening is that you divert the discussion and you accuse me of diverting the discussion. You have now said we voted for change. That's political. I don't agree with that.
So
let's go back to
what did they vote for?
Let's go back to, did we vote? I voted, but did we really vote? Did the votes count? Did you get 1.9 million votes in Kano without a void vote? You believe that? I was a NEC officer in 1993 under Humphrey Mosu. I have done presiding officer in this country. You got 1.9 million votes in Kano without a void vote? You didn't see videos of underage voting, which is a crime? You cause a diversion, you accuse me of a diversion.
What stops you from going to the court?
Go to which court? The same court that senior advocate of Nigeria, Michael Zekome, went to question the validity of the nomination of General Buhari. What happened to that case? In this country, did General Buhari, in his inaugural statement, not ask the courts to sit up? Is that the court you want to go to? Did Dr. Jonathan not complain about the same courts? Is that the court you want me to go to?
You don't see anything good in so many of
don't see anything good. No, these are facts. Tell me the good side.
Because if you say you had some issues.
I'm sure you have the inaugural speech of Buhari. Bring it,
if you say you had some issues with the elections.
Oh, definitely.
And you were a presidential candidate.
Yes.
Why didn't you approach the courts?
I didn't approach the courts because I knew it would be a waste.
Then if you thought so, then you shouldn't speak about it because...
you speak about it because you want it corrected.
How can you get it corrected? How can you get it corrected?
From your position, it is logically contradictory. Get it very clear. Get it very clear. Why did we even contest elections? We contested elections because we claimed that the situation was dysfunctional and needed to be remedied.
How can you get it corrected?
See, that's the problem. You wait for the answer. Don't jump in. Wait for the answer. We claimed that the situation was dysfunctional and wanted it remedied. Now, we presented a plan to remedy it. And we told you that critical to that plan was leadership. We said that very clearly.
Mr. Onovo, how can you correct it?
Correct which one?
You just said the system is bad. That was why you didn't go to the courts.
And we said critical to that, to remedy it is leadership. You said, how can you correct it? You're not listening. You're just throwing your own position.
Mr.
You need to listen to me.
Mr. Onovo.
I said critical to that is leadership. You didn't hear that?
With your respect,
Yes.
I listened to you and I'm asking you, how do you correct that?
How do you correct it? You get your leadership right, you get your policies right, you get your values right, and you get your work programs right.
And if you don't believe in a system like the judiciary that you say you don't believe in, how can
I said there are issues At least I don't believe the judiciary. NBA has complained about the same judiciary. Maybe you're not aware that there are issues with the judiciary. The Chief Justice has said that corrupt judges need to be...
that there are issues with the judiciary doesn't mean that they're not good people in the judiciary. It doesn't mean that...
Exactly.
Just a moment, doesn't mean that... Just a moment, sir. Just a moment, doesn't mean that people don't get justice in the judiciary. So when you say that you did not go to the courts because you didn't...
Did you hear what General Buhari said after
I'm sorry, I think it's very important for me to finish my question. If you say that you did not go to the courts because you didn't think that you're going to get justice because of what everybody else has said about it, what it shows, and I say this, with all sense of responsibility, what it shows, because millions are in people, and it was how you interpreted certain things, is that you don't believe in the courts. I think that's what my colleagues said that. So you didn't have to say it.
No, that's your interpretation.
From your action.
That's your interpretation.
From the fact that you did not go to the court and you're citing all of these examples and the fact that there are certain issues with the court means you don't believe in the judiciary.
No, that's your interpretation. Because you have already taken a prejudiced position, obviously.
It's not prejudice, Mr.
Onovo. You said I don't allow you to ask questions, but you don't even allow me to answer. I just allowed you to ask the question. Why don't you allow me to answer now?
Go ahead with the answer, sir.
What I said is very clear. There are issues, and I pointed to others who have complained about the same issues. Now, for my confidence to improve, that doesn't mean it's a zero confidence. I have matters in court. I went to court in 2011. I was not happy with the outcome. Similar thing that happened in 2011 was what happened in 2015. Where a pre-election matter was adjourned indefinitely after the election.
Okay, let's get back to this.
It happened to me.
Let's get back to the budget. Because
and it just happened.
I'm looking at that time now.
So what's your story? It just happened to the Michael Zegome case of the nomination of General Buhari. So what are you saying?
About the economy and what we need to do to put it back on track, does it mean then, in the light of your analysis of the budget and what's going on with the economy, that nothing good whatsoever about the budget?
Well, I won't say absolutely nothing good. But I will say, in totality, that budget can only lead to ruination. And I mean it.
Talk about it in terms of employment and the social protection program that the government has.
Well, the social protection program, I do not accept. Because when you have multiple programs, you must prioritize. These are standard management practices all over the world. In Asia, in the US, in Africa. Anybody who knows what he's doing, when you determine all your objectives, you have a hierarchy of objectives. That's your prioritization.
How should they approach that one?
Now, in this particular case, you remember what I said. You don't take it out of context. The direction is critical. Now, once you have that direction, your strategy, in other words, your strategy is the philosophy of your plan. What did we say, for example? We said critical to economic development was power. We said we prioritize power. And we said that over the 4 years tenure, we will take out $9 billion to double power. We were clear about that. Because that was a high-level priority for us. Now, we're now saying that this particular budget you have referenced has a $38 per barrel benchmark price, which, in my personal opinion, is not conservative enough. I'm not saying it's wrong.
What should it have been?
It's not conservative enough. It should have been...
What would be conservative?
In my personal opinion. You know, it's not a one-man thing. It's a team thing. But in my personal opinion, it should be less than 35.
Even though at that time it was higher than $40
You see
per
what
barrel.
happens? What happens is, if your salary is $500,000 a month, government takes away 20%, you have 400,000. If in your mindset, at the end of every month, I have $500,000 to spend, and you go on a spending spree and spend $500,000, you don't have it. So I'm talking about being conservative. And that also helps your fiscal discipline. Now, if you get an extra, if it turns out that the average price of oil at the end of 2016 is $60 per barrel, you have that margin, you don't lose it. Now, you can deploy it in 2017. But now, you already put yourself in a position where you're on a cliff. And where if you slide, you break your back.
Okay, so
you don't put yourself in that kind of a position. So this particular budget, the major problem we have with this budget is that it is logically and intellectually contradictory.
But you were supposed to talk about the social protection program and the strategy, which is the philosophy.
The social protection program is also a contradiction because what is your primary emphasis? Is it playing to the gallery? Is it cheap populism?
Empowering the unemployed.
No, you don't empower them with 5,000. Don't forget the what do you people call it? The allegory of teaching to fish and giving a fish. You're owing teachers that are ready to go on strike. You want to give a meal. Pay the teacher first. That's my thinking. Maybe your thinking is different. Give the gala to the students and owe the teacher. Maybe that's how you get a good education. I don't know. Secondly,
So you mean they should scrap that program? Is that what you're saying?
if you can fund it, good. But to take out 500 billion and say it's for a wasteful venture of giving gala to or whatever snack to children,
You think it's wasteful?
very wasteful. You know why? If you paid Chamberlain, he will feed his child to go to school. And if you paid the teacher will teach the child that you achieve your objective. Don't forget, like I said, you must be clear about your objective. What is our objective? Is it cheap popularity?
But the thing about it is that, I mean, will any unemployed graduate be happy to receive handouts? So it's not that, well,
Let me tell you, as I am here, if the government gives me a handout, I will take.
even though you think it's
And I'm a
wasteful.
millionaire. If the government gives me a handout, 5,000, I'll take it. You think I will throw it away? If I take it, I could even give it out to a poor person. But I'm going to take it if government gives it. What do you mean? Government will give me a handout, I will reject. Why?
Okay,
So let's get these things clear. You see, my problem with some of our people is we want the right result, but we deliberately and consistently do what is wrong. And that's why we have been getting the wrong answers for nearly over 50 years. The only way you get the right answers is do the right things. Journalists do the right things. Politicians do the right things. Engineers do the right things. Teachers do the right. We need to do the right things, and we need to do them consistently.
What kind of fiscal policy would you put in place given what we're faced with today?
Well, it's very simple. Once a leadership is in place, whether legitimate or illegitimate, once a leadership is in place, it must exercise its authority. And when you're talking about fiscal policy, you see, my own emphasis is not the policy. My emphasis is the philosophy. Now, if you have fiscal discipline, for example, the waste that we all know about, we will not have.
But what's the philosophy without a policy?
The philosophy dictates the policy. The philosophy is the wisdom, is the logic. Is the philosophy means love of knowledge. Is the OJ of the policy. I need to have that very right. So if you have it very right, you find out that things fall in line. For example, if you come to a federal executive meeting and you said, we need to achieve this. Of all this is key. Before I leave this office, this needs to get done. Let's do what we need to do to get it done. Mr. Chamberlain, next meeting, let us know what we need to do to get it done. Let me know what I need to do. Let Suleiman know what he needs to do. Let Mokbe know what she needs to do. Next meeting, you come with that, we review and we approve. Everybody is thinking in that direction. Everyone is working in that direction.
So you're not seeing any of those kinds of directions in this government? Is that
Well,
what you're
what I
saying?
have just heard now is Tanko Yakasai saying that the government has no plan for power. And you're just budgeting 433 billion. And last night,
Do you believe that?
no, I heard him.
Yeah, but you're
I heard
quoting
him.
it. That means you subscribe to it.
No, I
Does
heard
it?
him. No, I'm not going to stop my ears to information. I heard him. Now, yesterday, I heard the Minister for Power during his visit to the Benue plant.
Yeah, we actually have that.
Saying they will decide. You have not decided. So he was collaborating what Tanko Yakasai said. So it's not about what I believe.
Excuse me, I think exactly.
Please, if you play it, it will be helpful.
No, but before we do that, I think it's also important, I mean, to also say that there was the initial plan. I mean, when he first of all came on board, there was the press briefing he had talking about the state where we are currently, talking about roads, talking about power, and talking about, what's the third ministry now? I can't seem to remember. Works in housing, and what their plan is for those three ministries. Did you see that plan by any chance?
Yes, I did.
What did you make of it?
What I made of it is that it's an extortionist plan. A plan to increase power, A plan to put toll roads is extortionist.
But you actually agree. Sorry to
It's extortionist.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's extortionist.
But you,
that's what I saw.
Just a moment. You agree that it is a plan. So when you say that, Mr. Tanko Yakasai says that there is no plan, and then you're quoting the minister of, I think it's very important that we play that particular track.
No, it's very important.
When you say that there's no plan, I think it's very important for us to put things in context.
No, don't put words in my mouth.
Mr. Onovo.
I'm sure your viewers are listening clearly. They heard what I said. Don't tell me what I said. I know what I said. Now I said, Tanko Yakasai said this. And then I saw on the news, the minister saying, we will decide this, we will decide this. To me, the decision should have been made. We should have been in implementation. How many more weeks you're going to be 1 year of the government? But if you find excuses for failure, we're going to continue to fail. What we need in this country is power. Brazil, over 200 million people, over 100,000 megawatts. Nigeria, 200 million people, 4,000 megawatts, and you celebrate. Excuse me.
But
I will not celebrate.
But there are
because
people,
I know the situation.
But there are people who get the impression that haven't listened to what you've said about some of these ministries. It's as though the ministers just sitting down there, dilly-dallying, not taking the decision as they ought to. Is that what you're implying?
No. I thank you for this clarification. What I'm implying is that some of these things are happening late. That's what I'm implying, and that's what I'm saying. And remember at the beginning I talked about the medium-term economic framework recommends that you present your budget proposal in August. You presented in January. You don't see anything wrong with that? Sorry. Do I see something fundamentally wrong? Yes. If you lose four how many months from August to January? September, October, November, December, January. You lose 5 months?
I think they presented
on your schedule?
They presented in December, Mr. Onovo.
When you represent, you start again now.
Just a moment, they did not represent.
When you represent, you start again now.
They wrote a letter correcting certain parts of the budget. I think it's very important for
Were
us
you in this country when you heard about missing budget and switching budget and missing budget?
It's very important for us. It's very important for us to put things in context, and I think that was also clarified when they said that the president presented a budget and they're going to work with the budget that the president presented.
No.
I think. Oh yes.
No.
The Senate president
because
said
that has also changed.
I'm not
arguing. They say I'm working
with
on the
you,
new
Mr.
edition.
Onovo. I'm telling you what I know.
I'm telling you what you reported.
Yes.
As a journalist, I'm telling you that you reported that they work on the new version.
Just a moment. I think it's very important to also tell you that the Senate president, we have on track. We have that on tape.
And I will show you where it was reported that the Senate will now look at the new version.
Okay, well, we will take a break now, but we'll be back and look at some of those clips that is in contention now. Don't go away yet. All that we heard, the parts where he said the additional transformers that they need will be provided for in the 2017 budget.
We heard that.
That's the additional one.
Yes,
so it means that's
one
the
decision
current
taken.
One it's already been provided while that consultation continues.
No, you didn't listen carefully.
What did he say?
In fact, he just repeated what I said here.
Which is?
He said, we're making the assessment, then we'll make the decisions. Which is correct.
So what does that mean for you?
I didn't hear him say that we'll make the assessment and we're making the decision.
Did you expect me to repeat verbatim what he said? You didn't listen. It was very clear what he said.
Mr. Onovo, I think it's very important to keep things in context because the meaning I got from that.
And you said something different. We go back to clips.
I didn't think you would also contest what he said.
It's really amazing. Honestly, it's been an amazing morning.
I didn't think you would contest what everybody heard.
It's been an amazing morning.
Because you're the only one that seems to hear what you heard. Because I didn't hear that. He didn't hear that.
No, you didn't want to hear that clearly.
You just said he didn't listen carefully.
I said you didn't listen.
No, you told Chamberlain that he didn't listen carefully.
You clearly didn't listen carefully.
Oh, sorry. If you're the only one listening carefully, then we all have to check our ears.
No, you watch it again when we leave.
Okay, but bottom line, what you're saying is that they need to do much more than they're doing. Period, isn't it?
I'm saying a lot more than that. I'm saying that directionally they have it wrong. I'm saying that intellectually they have it wrong. I'm saying that morally they have it wrong.
Are you pained you lost the election? Let's get that from you.
I expect that from somebody like you. But did I lose an election?
I don't think it's very important. It's important for us to be personal, Mr. Onovo.
Yeah,
because
it wasn't personal to say, are you
question.
pained because you lost the election? That's not personal.
Because your views have been very personal, as it were.
All right, guys, we have to wrap up.
My views are... You didn't see underage voters?
We thank you for your views.
You didn't see the Kano results?
Guys, you need to go.
Mr. You didn't see the Borno results?
Mr. Onovo, we got to go. Well, thank you for your time. Mr. Martin Onovo is a former presidential candidate of the NCP, and what a session we'll have with him. But we'll be back in a minute. We'll have another session coming up. I don't know if it'll be like this one. Don't go away yet.